I sold my house, I sold my car, I sold all of my rental properties. I need to go learn this. Like, I'm not going to be beat by a knowledge gap. There are certain things that if you just don't know them and you don't understand them, like, you're not going to be able to outwork them. I was able to really visualize and say, like, look, I'm going to become an Audi mechanic and I'm going to have all of this success. All I had to do was work backwards from that real visualized goal and just do whatever it took to make that reality. And that's what I did. Through COVID, we quadrupled. Now this original facility does, $8 million a year. There's no going back. I got to find a way through it. So that's what I did.
America's backbone was built on blue-collar business grit, grind, and muscle. This is where you stop working for the business, and the business starts working for you.
What's up, Blue Collar Millionaires? I have Ryan Blair on today. Ryan and I kind of been messaging back and forth. I know he's doing big things. I wanted to have him on here. I want you guys to hear his story. Ryan, I'm going to let you get into it. Tell us where you're at now, and then let's go back and how you got there.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm the co-founder and CEO of Alloy Automotive Partners, and we're a European service and repair platform. And we're going nationwide with European service and repair. It's never been done before. No one's ever gone nationwide. So we'll either find out why that was a good reason or die trying, right? So we're having a good time doing that. So we've got 12 locations across Texas and Colorado. We're on like a current run rate at about 50 million right now annually in service.
Wow. So you're out of Dallas. How did you let's get into 50 million. How did you start this journey? Walk me through it. You're a young guy. How many years have you been doing this?
Yeah. So, maybe that's a compliment. I don't know. So I just turned 41. So maybe I look a little bit younger, but I am getting up there. No spring chicken anymore. But yeah, man, I think like for me, my story is so typical for people in my industry or people in blue collar in general, So I came up, I struggled in school, I had ADHD. I didn't care, I was just having fun, goofing around. I didn't have much discipline, when I was younger. I was always kind of talented, but I never really, and I just liked what I liked and didn't care about the stuff that I didn't. I know a lot of people could probably relate to that. And so I went to college for a couple of years and it was a disaster, right? Like I didn't go to class. I just wasted a bunch of money and time. And so I was in a position really where I just wasn't having any success there. And I was like, man, like, what am I doing with my life? Right. And so it was actually my stepmom. She was like, hey, you love cars, right? Like all you talk about is cars. All you think about is cars. She's like, why don't you do something with cars? And for whatever reason, it just never like occurred to me that I could just do something with cars, right? Like my whole life I was told like, you go to school, you get good grades, you get into college, you go be miserable the rest of your life, right? And so I was like, okay, I'll go do that. And so I went to Universal Technical Institute, which is probably the biggest nationwide technical training for, working on cars. And there's other good programs out there too, WyoTech and a couple like that. But I went to UTI, I went to the Houston campus, and dude, I loved it. Right. Like, and now I wasn't one of those guys that was like handy. I wasn't even like mechanically inclined really. Like I wasn't one of those guys that grew up working on stuff, at the farm or anything like that. I was a city slicker. I played video games, I was a dork, but I loved it. I started learning about the cars, the engines, the electrical systems, how everything worked. And yeah, lo and behold, if I'm interested in what I'm learning about, I'm paying attention and I'm having a good time. And so I blasted through Universal Technical Institute, but I grinded. So I double phased. So that means I went to morning classes and night classes at the same time. So was basically at that school from like 6:30 in the morning to like 9:30 at night every day. And then I worked a weekend job. I had two jobs, actually. I would work a morning shift and a night shift. I worked at Best Buy and Walmart. And so, that was like a grinding time in my life. And, and I knew it's like, I had to be the best, right? Like I had to have that like perfect attendance. Like, honestly, this is where everything shifted for me. I'm failing out of college. I'm like this lost, don't know what I'm doing with my life. And then I had this like goal that I could actually see. Like I was able to really visualize and say like, look, I'm going to become an Audi mechanic and I'm going to have all of this success, right? Like, and that like was so clear that it became real for me. And I realized all I had to do was work backwards from that real visualized goal and just do whatever it took to make that reality. And that's what I did. So I double phased. I got perfect attendance. I won. They have student of the class. If you like win the class, I got that for every class I took, got the valedictorian. And so then Audi gave me a full ride to their program, which was out in Arizona. So I go out to Audi's training facility. I do that for, I think it's like a 6 or 9 month program. Don't remember now. It was a long time ago. And I ended up doing really well in that program as well. And then they kind of like had a deal with the manufacturer and the dealers. And they like put you at dealers who like bid on you, right? Like it's kind of a weird system, but I wanted Dallas and I got Dallas. And so I went to Dallas and yeah, I started my career as an automotive technician. And what was crazy is I was terrible. So like, I had all these brain smarts and I understood the systems and how the cars worked. But like, I tell you what, like there's nothing harder than learning how to physically do that job, and if you know anything about, being a flat rate technician, if it takes you 30 minutes to do a brake job, it pays 2 hours. If it takes you 4 hours to do a brake job, it pays 2 hours. So when you're young and green, you get your ass kicked a lot, right? And I got my ass kicked a lot. I bought this toolbox, which cost more than I made my entire first year, right? And you're buying your own tools off the tool truck and you don't ever ask how much. It's just $20 a week until you die. And yeah, man, so I got thrown to the wolves, tried to figure it out. But I really struggled, honestly. Didn't do very well in the beginning. And I do think it's important for people to know that like this whole like blue collar thing, it isn't just like, oh, it's going to be easy, right? Like, oh, you're going to go earning multiple six figures right off the bat. No, you have to like develop your skill. And that's what I had to do. And I'm this like overachiever type. And it took me a couple of years, 2-3 years to really develop my skill to the point where I could start really hammering away. But I figured it out and, I got some motivation. I met a girl and I was like, I need a house. I need a yard for my dog. So I started slamming out. I really looked at myself in the mirror again. I was like, hey man, like I've done this before, like where I really like had this visualized goal of what I wanted and how do I work backwards? How do I make that happen? I was like, okay, I want to be the best Audi technician there's ever been. So like, what do I have to do that? I was like, okay, well, there's two things. I need to win the National Audi Twin Cup Challenge, and I need to be the highest producing technician in the country. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to do it. So I started studying for the Twin Cup Challenge, which is a tournament that they do every year. And they take every Audi tech and they pare them down to the final 40. And then you go out and you like work on bugged cars in front of cameras and all of Audi of America's big wigs and all that. And so I started studying for that. And then I started pushing myself on my production. And I was like, man, what are my limiting beliefs that are keeping me? Like, why are there some guys out here that are able to run like 200, 300 hours a month? And I'm over here running 150. Like, what is that about? And so I just like removed all beliefs that I had. And I was like, look, how many hours can you physically run? Like, if there was nothing in your way, what is physically possible? And so, man, I just started grinding. And like my first month on that experiment, I went from 150 hours. My first month, I was at 300. And then my next month after that, I was at 400. My next month after that, I was at 500. And my next month after that, I was at 600. And then if you want to know, that's about the physical limit of what a human body can do. But then I averaged 500 hours a month for the rest of my career for about another 10 years. And I instantly went from, making 50K a year to making multiple six figures, right? Because I was earning it. I was getting my hours, right? And then I ended up winning the tech challenge. And that wasn't easy. I went my first year, got dead last, got 40th place, fell on my face, had like a panic attack on the first bugged car came up and I just like froze and then I couldn't recover. And so then I doubled down and I came back and I think I got like 15th or 20th. And then I was like, screw that. I'm going to win. And then I came back and won the whole thing. And that was about the time where I was getting pretty deep into my career with Audi. And I started looking around and I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, am I going to be a foreman? Those guys all seem cranky. Am I going to go
Yeah.
like work up the corporate ladder with like Audi of America, go become like a technical field manager? Am I going to go more onto the like the sales side or management side? I was just looking around, and by this time I'm making probably 300 grand a year. And I'm thinking like, I'm gonna go take a pay cut for
To do
what?
that. No make any sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did something even dumber, which is I just quit my job cold turkey and I moved into an 800 square foot storage unit with no customer base and started my own shop.
How did that
I was
work out?
the one man band, no AC, summers in Texas. I mean, 120 degrees in
Wow.
that storage unit. And yeah, and it was like a locked storage facility, right? Like it's not like you could even drive in. You
Yeah.
had to call me and get a rotating code.
Get let you in.
Yeah. And I mean, it was hilarious. And somehow I got a business off the ground there. And so I started Blair Automotive, and that was in 2014. And then business, man, like, that's the other half of this blue collar thing, right? So like, first you have to develop the skill that gets you in the door of being able to go into business, but then you have to learn business, and it's a completely different skill. And a lot of people, I think, get trapped on the skill that got them into business, and they don't work and focus on developing the skill that's going to allow them to succeed in business and then go on to the next levels. But man, I continued grinding. And, I was busting my ass at the dealer. I was working 7 days a week. There's no way to run 500 hours without working a lot of hours. Like I was efficient, but I wasn't like 200% efficient or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I just did the same thing. I just started doing it for myself, but I had no idea what I was doing, man. My pricing was bad. I was, not even marking up my parts. I think my labor was $90 an hour. Maybe it was $80 an hour, but I discounted it all the time. I was disorganized mess, like I carried around my backpack and it had like my certificate of occupancy. It had like my sales tax. It had like, and then about 100 random pieces of paper that I was like writing down like customers' ROs by hand. And man, it was a good time. And I just kept grinding it. But yeah, I grew it bit by bit, person by person. I brought on some buddies of mine and started, leveling it up. People started getting excited about it. And I was able to move into a bigger storage unit. And then finally in 2017, I made the big move. And this is like the biggest financial, potentially mistake, but it turned out to be the biggest financial success of my life. I moved into a 20,000 square foot facility that I had no business being in. And I had to start 3 other companies just to have a passable P&L to give to the landlord to even let me be there. So I started a performance parts company. I had a custom air ride shop, and then a detail tint PPF thing, plus my auto repair. And I created little partnerships with all of those, brought everyone together, put us all in this one facility, and then promptly almost ruined my life. So this is when the rubber really met the road. It's like I forced myself into a position where if I didn't level up, and this is why I love business so much, because like it's ruthless. It doesn't care about your feelings. You will either adapt or it will grind you into the ground, and you will figure out. And I love that about it because it allows you to become who I believe we're all being called to become, right? And so this was my crucible. So I get in there and it's doing well, right? It's perceived to be doing well, but I'm losing like 50 grand a month. Almost immediately, I borrowed about 1.5, and people are like, how do you borrow that much money? I'm like, dude, if you're making 300K a year and you have really good credit and you have 3 rental properties,
You'll get it. Yeah.
You can borrow that money, right? And then you don't tell them about each other, right? So you got the SBA over here, you got your capital leases over here, you got your, and so like before you know it, like you could rack up, 1.2, 1.5 million in debt like that. And I did. And, of course, I built out the garage mahal, man. I had a dyno, I had everything. And so, yeah, I was losing money hand over fist. I didn't understand the economics of it. I didn't understand like my true break even. I didn't understand how like now I have $50,000 in debt service in principal payments that don't even show up on my P&L. So I got to be a 50,000 net to break even on a cash flow. And then they don't ever tell you about the fact that if your 50,000 net is break even on your cash flow, Uncle Sam is taxing you on that 50,000 a month because they're like, you're doing great. And so It was rough. So yeah, I didn't know what to do. I didn't really know where to go, but I knew that I wasn't going to let it beat me. Right. And this was when I had to get really humble, and I had to start saying, like, okay, look, obviously I don't have this all figured out. Obviously there's successful people in business. I need to go learn this. Like, I'm not going to be beat by a knowledge gap. Right. Like, but there's certain things that if you just don't know them and you don't understand them, like, you're not going to be able to outwork them. Like,
Yeah.
you're just going to dig yourself in a deeper hole. Right. And so I was grateful that because my back was so far against the wall, it forced me to a place of like humility and vulnerability. And I found a mentor. His name was Aaron Stokes, and he was growing some shops out in Tennessee. And he had just started a small little like coaching mastermind group. I think there were about 20 people in it at the time. And he invited me out there, and I just was like, you know what, man, this is it, right? Like, you've got a system, you've got a process. I went and visited his shops, and I was like, this dude's got it all figured out. And he ended up becoming just, one of the biggest impacts of my life. And so I just immediately learned all the stuff that you have to learn to succeed in business. And what was cool about it, because my back was against the wall, man, I went all in. And I had a convo with him, and he was like, man, if you do these like 30 things like this month, like maybe you won't have to declare bankruptcy. And did them in a week, right? These weren't like easy things, right? Like, these were things that I had like firmly held belief systems around not doing them, right? Like, I had to completely change the way that I looked at myself, the way I looked at business, the way I looked at everything in order to even have a chance. So yeah, man. And that's when I like really got in the crucible, and I was working 7 days a week. I sold my house. I sold my car. I sold all of my rental properties. I mean, I took my wife's 401k. I mean, I took everything that we had just to make a payroll, just to get through this season in our life. And I walked to work. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment right behind my shop, and I walked to work. I sold my toolbox. I had a fancier toolbox than this one that I had gotten. I had to sell it. This is my original toolbox. We let the apprentices use this. And man, and I just had to go all in. And that's when, I had to learn my financials. I had to learn my P&L. I had to learn marketing. I had to learn recruiting. I had to learn every aspect of business, right? The business side of this. I had to learn those things the hard way and get them to the ground. And I had to pull this thing up by its bootstraps. And yeah, I was able to do that with the support of, that industry specific kind of mastermind and my mentor, and just my willingness to grind through it. And so, yeah, pretty quickly we started seeing the success. And then it's just, man, it's blown up from there. By 2019, my shop was, the largest European independent repair shop in the country. Through COVID, we quadrupled, and now this original facility does, 8 million a year. Back then we were doing 700.
What year was it where you decided you sold all that stuff? You're living in the apartment and you go back to 2017.
Yeah, 2017 was that year. It's 2017 and 2018 was my big, you got to sacrifice it all, man. Like, how bad do you want it? Right? Like, I could have walked away, could have, I remember a moment where I was like, man, like, the amount of money that I owed, and I'm a man of honor, right? So like, I am going to pay back everything that I owe. Like, this is just a principle thing for me. Maybe it makes me stupid. Maybe it makes me weak. I don't care. So I started calculating like how many years I was going to have to grind at the dealer to pay everybody back. Right. But honestly, it was like, man, there's no going back. I got to find a way through. So that's what I did.
That was an incredible story. I want to recap on some things, because I thought it's